NAL Stage 2. I am Lynx, joined by the newlywed Samuel Stokes. Sam, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Lynx. Happy to be here with you today, man, for Stage 2 and the beginning of Stage 2 as well. You and I get to kick it off here today on Bank with Wildcard and Soniqs. So pretty excited to get into this one.
Especially because, as the desk talked about, again, you maybe are wondering, what did the desk talk about? You're scratching your head like, that was a little bit ago. What were some of the points? Well, we'll get you back up to speed. Wildcard, new team. We don't know their history on Bank. Unknown quantity right now. We know some of the players, Surf, Spirits, for example, but others, like Adam, new entry into Pro League, so we'll need to figure it out. But Soniqs, we at least know a little bit more. Bank, not super common play for them throughout Stage 1, but in the Copenhagen Major and in the Gamers Without Border quals, we saw them play it 3 times and win it in every single outing. And especially given how large of a map Bank is, how much coordination this requires, this is certainly a big map for a wildcard to try and prove themselves on, especially as a comparatively inexperienced team to Soniqs. Man, they'll really need to have everything on point if they want to beat Soniqs on this map specifically.
Yeah, pretty big ask to start things off. I'd just like to get that one out of the way first, right? I mean, Wildcard just get themselves together. You got 2 new fresh faces to Pro League here. With some high-end players as well coming from some other teams, especially with Merc coming in. But to try and take the crown away from Soniqs here, especially with how they were looking in Stage 1, this is going to be pretty difficult. I'm excited to see how the Soniqs are going to play things out, though, especially with no roster move recently. Just getting to see players like Citizen back out and about again is really going to be a good time.
Of course, I'm always going to be a little biased. While I do think the Soniqs will win this match, I'm excited to see Adam Packard. This is not his Pro League debut, but he was on the PB roster right before SI23. So this is his first, full true stage of Pro League. I'm excited to see how some of kind of the CL Element 1 alum do on this map. For the Soniqs and Wildcard, ban phase has now completed. And Sam, I don't think you and I are shocked by these events whatsoever. I mean, Solus, Valk ban on Bank, 2 very common operators banned in general, but on Bank as well. And Dokkaebi Nook, I mean, same goes for the attack. You'd see this ban phase transpire on any of the 9 maps we have in the pool.
Yeah, Dokkaebi practically a must right now, given the meta. And Nook, she's just so strong on Bank, right? So many access points that we've seen exploited time and time again, no matter, what team you're stack up against. So we'll have to see exactly what is going to be brought now on the offensive side, but expect some of the tried and true that we usually tend to see on Bank. What I'm really excited about is to see what Wildcard wants to try and do from their perspective here, just to kick things off, is we get everything set to go as the fly through, especially for one of our boys over here on the Soniqs, as the vibes are high here for the first day of PL in Stage 2.
Yeah, Grixer just vibing right now. Seem to be listening to at least the music in his head, if not music in his ears. Of course, it is being Bank. As anybody surprised, we'll see the starting site be lockers down below. This being Bank, of course, you should also expect a roam of some sorts. One operator to note will be that Echo, played by Grixer. Soniqs have banned this a couple times through on Bank in the offseason and during the Copenhagen Major, but deciding to bring him here. We'll likely see Grixer inside the site or in garage, but still using those yokai drones to give intel to some players that are roaming around the map.
Really like this lineup we got from Wildcard here, especially to handle Bank. 2 secondary hard breachers, have Habana here as well, just to make sure they have so much utility at their disposal that they won't have to worry too much about losing anybody. It's a lot of these interactions early on, especially with the setup you can see here from the Soniqs. They're going to have to take a couple of risks. It's not something that they're going to have to try and vet through and through. They can kind of get wild with things, and that's exactly what you want for a player base like this. Isn't that right, Lynx? People like Spirits, people like Merc,
oh, yeah.
They really like to get in their opponent's faces, so definitely something you're more than likely going to see quite a lot.
And that's one of the big things going Wildcard's way right now, as you said, the individual prowess that Spirits, Surf, Merc has. Of course, I know what Adam and Packer can bring to the table, but many of the viewers don't. Many people in T1 might not be as personally acquainted with it on game day. Spirits, a lot of these players have played against this powerful Yana main, or really any kind of operator. As long as he can entry, they know what he can do. First C4 and first bit of exchanges go out. Only damage dealt is to Merc, who's lost almost all of his HP, about just below half. Doing his best to create some vertical destruction on the top floor again to clear out this roam. Almost half the round gone, and all the work is being done to pressure these roamers on the middle floor, to push them into the elevator hatch, into open area, to force them to retreat back, and then cede more map control to Wildcard.
That's going to be top control in the hands of Wildcard now. able to force back Soniqs into the basement. Do have an angle being taken up, but a nice read here from Gunnar, and he's going to get the very first kill of stage 2. Merc will go down. A couple other obstacles that Wildcard do have to work around. His Soniqs plan has gone off without a hitch so far here going into the last minute.
They have very effectively baited Wildcard slowly into the map, giving control at their pace, forcing Wildcard to play on their own timetable. I mean, this is about as great of a first round inside the NAL that you could hope for your Soniqs. Spirits will make a very natural rotation into Garage, try to open this new bit of pressure to not only hopefully get a 4v4, but even if it's still a 4v5, just to try and provide a new angle that the defense will have to worry about. Candela's flying on in, but Surf won't drop just yet. He's still got 2 and some time to waste before we actually get to the execute. First kill for Wildcard, achieved by Adam onto the marble stairs with his one player just around the corner baiting for the refrag. With how low health Adam was, a headshot wasn't even necessary to secure that kill. Citizen will fall likely to the hatch angle just a little bit later. Instead, it's Spirit's the one to finish him off. Wildcard with very little time left have achieved equalization in the man count, but Sonic just have to hold on for 10 more seconds. Wildcard an advantage quickly eliminated thanks to Gunnar and the rest of SQ. Very hectic end of the round for what was a very promising start for Soniqs, but even if it's rough, Soniqs still win the first.
Able to handle the waves there very, very well, especially with what we saw from Wildcard. With what we saw inside of the opening 2 minutes, especially with the pick kind of going the way of the Soniqs, you didn't really expect them to put up as harsh of a fight. But I mean, with the leadoff pick from Adam, they made the most of the situation, I'll say. You know, there was a lot going on there, especially inside of that 2v2 that could have gone either way, but you got to give the flowers over to the Soniqs there. They played that out perfectly, backing off to more of a central position to try and help each other out, make sure you're always within arm's distance. Things just really working out for them and able to close off on a lot of those angles that were being adopted in the late portion of that round for Wildcard.
And of course, as Jesse mentioned on the desk, Soniqs being a very proficient team on the defense, not only on Bank, but also just in general. Even though the attack is sometimes thought to be the better side on Bank, the more rounds that Soniqs can rack up here will not only go along with the precedent they've set, but also set them up for success once they switch to the half later on. So they're looking to, of course, win that primary bomb side of lockers. Now, of course, their second and eventually third pick later on. Where Wildcard will succeed likely is when the rounds get down that low in time. When it gets to 15, 10 seconds left, and they can there we go. We can rely on players like Spirits to get those kills.
Oh, Lynx, I'm an old man, and I've been waiting on this a very long time.
I'm young, and I have.
Finally gotten it. It's pretty nice, man. Free cam, able to look around at things from a new perspective, a new view.
You know, I can't recall. I remember watching at SI 2020. I think you were the one casting when they debuted the new overlay all the way back then. I can't remember, but it is fitting. You'd also be here for the first use of free cam in the NAL, not in also not all of Rainbow Six. We've had a few play days in different leagues before this, but I too am very excited by the free cam to see what kinds of new angles are revealed, new cinematic moments are shown on stream, and if the last round is anything to go off of, when that clock starts getting low, there are a lot of different options and a lot of different players you can spectate who might just pop off in a given round. Spirits, of course, sticking with that trend, has worked his way into stock and removed Rexon's head and gained the advantage for Wildcard.
Low HP, no nades. Nori is too. A lot of noise coming through here, but you can see Wildcard's position over towards the windows here. Just trying to get a little extra help on that top floor, and it's going to work out as Gunnar will take down Packer. That's a big pick as well. Not nearly as much hard breach at Wildcard's disposal as they had the last time, but fortunately enough, this site not really requiring all that much at the end of the day. It's been Soniqs all the way through in this round, but finally Spirits will equalize here, getting us down into the 3 versus 3. Top control go WC's way, but Soniqs still with a lot to say about this one, especially with Geo actually here with plenty of smokes to say.
Wildcard has certainly proven they can go toe-to-toe with SQ when it comes to a gunfight on gunfight basis. It's how they've won this round, is on those individual 1v1s, the lurks, the flanks, the rotations. Getting themselves into positions to take those fights and then winning them has been their bread and butter so far in round 2. And now they have a minute left, much more time than they had before when they went for that execute on the lockers. They even have Adam with plenty of time and still plenty of skeleton key ammo to acquire further vertical control, create further angles, to give players like Spirits and Merc, the other 2 teammates he has to rely on the last minute of this round, try to make an execute into open area. The one thing going SQ's way right now, as we reach 30 seconds left, are those 3, now 2 toxic canisters from Geo to force Wildcard back from certain positions or just stall time. But now he's the only one left. Those toxic canisters will likely remain inside his back pocket. He's got to use the gun up to keep the gun up right now. But with the ground gained by Wildcard so early on, they convert very well by the end.
So far, so good for Wildcard. I mean, both of these rounds, even the first one not exactly going their way, but still the end of the round showing kind of a flair of their own. This one especially, obviously, with the big win coming through, so pick up their first offense. It really seems like they're at least all on the same page, Lynx, and that's what you're looking for in a new team, right? Like, they're all trying to figure out how each other play. You know, as Laxing put on the desk, those little idiosyncrasies that you're always looking for and trying to make sure that you understand what, you know, that player is going to do next to you. Just because they say they're going to do something doesn't mean that's exactly how they're going to go about things, right? They might have a certain way that they do things. So just to see that Wildcard have put in a good amount of work to at least have things going for them on an offensive side, especially with how hard things can be over there, it's so far so good for them rolling into round 3.
And if Wildcard can still rely on players like Spirits or Merc as well, the 2 top performers on Wildcard right now through the first 2 rounds, to get that vertical control or get that control around the map, whether it's getting a kill or hell, just putting pressure on players and pushing them back, they'll be in good shape for the rest of this attacking half, because the main part of Bank, the main thing you got to worry about when you're attacking is if you can acquire that control, go for those full clears, push the defenders back. Of course, you always got to worry about executing on the site, winning your gunfights there, but if you can perform very well in that early round and abide by your own timetable instead of the one the defense sets for you, you're in for a good shape and happy times for the remainder of the round.
Almost definitely. Especially with what we've been seeing so far here for Wildcard. It looks like they at least want to make a run for it. See if they can beat Soniqs out in this leg race. Only halfway through now for the offensive side of things, as we have Spirits checking out the basement, looking to see if there's any hatch play that he can possibly line up for this Gara hook. It's actually going to be more than just him as well. Packer leading the charge with the case as well. I mean, not exactly something that I would be happy about, but hey, man, I mean, there's nobody downstairs, and you have plenty of people at your disposal to try and back it up. So why not at the end of the day? If it was a pub, I feel different, but this is team play. These people are going to help out their teammates. Spirits is going to fly up as more of a distracting factor. See if he can continue rolling on. Have a shotgun in tow. Really here though, to be able to get rid of the cam and kind of set them up here inside of open area. It's actually going to be Gunner that leads things off now. Still take down Spirits.
And Gunner lurking inside an elevator the entirety of that first minute, gone undroned by Wildcard. Perhaps not unnoticed. If he had his ERC activated, Wildcard might have had an idea that the Vigil was around that area. They weren't able to spot him. He gets the kill, but Adam fights back. Geo now gone. There's still the Vigil in the wind and still fighting back and shooting shots. Packer the second to fall to that K1A. And Wildcard now stopped at the door a little bit. They've made, or initially made, some very good entries and strides into the building, moving into that open area, but now they've rotated up to this top floor to try and deal with some of the defenders sitting inside of CEO. Merc will be the tip of that spear. Moving past Marble, we see not just 1, but 2 different players inside. Once a drone finds us intel, will he push on in? Will he find a kill? Does have the info. Ooh, just sees the head. Vigil backs off, though. Not able to get the kill just yet.
The time is so punishing right now for Wildcard. 3 up. The Soniqs have full control of this round. The patience working out for them. Citizen sending shots towards Surf, but not really making too much contact. Just a waste of time, as we see here from WC. They really can't get too much control over these angles, but it's going to be Merc that finally finds it from a different perspective. Over towards top squares, he'll probably bully his way in through the CEO walls. It's going to force Rexon back down just to try and hold E2. Grixer will be stuck inside of Archives with Adam with a big pickup, but it's going to be back on to Grixer. A triple now for Adam as he's having a big showcase so far here. 2 versus 1. As Grixer will get taken down by Surf with a complete opposite angle as well. He's stuck around upstairs, Lynx. Waits till the last moment, hops into square, and catches him completely off guard in inside of Archives, excuse me.
Got to give that one to Wildcard. I mean, recovering what was a very good counteroffensive by Soniqs through the mid-round. We see them rotate upstairs, and it takes a long time to get anything going. I mean, Merc's initial entry into office didn't really work out. Saw just the barest edge of a couple players, but it took all the way down to the last minute before they found anything, and especially Adam, as you said, with that big triple to open things up onto the bomb side. Again, was it necessarily the cleanest? No, not at all, but The big thing Wildcard have shown so far is they're performing very well individually and can rely on that to not only create good space at the beginning of the round, but also more importantly, to salvage rounds that maybe if you watched the first minute weren't going to go their way and suddenly turn them all the way the opposite direction.
You know, I think this kind of draws back to something that Merc actually tweeted about a couple of weeks ago, or like last week, about this squad when, you know, the whole roster went out. It was the fact that he was really excited to play with them. It was very, very chill environment. He was just excited to get back to playing the game. And so far, it really seems like that, right? Even these early picks, Lynx, does it seem like they care that it happened? No, it doesn't. They're just playing the game of Rainbow Six Siege. And honestly, it's great to see, especially because they're able to exploit these pressure points of Soniqs that are honestly very, very difficult to try and find. You saw how Wildcard had to try and reassess things on that top floor, and we're finally able to get a leg up on them with that control until translating it downstairs. But it took forever, didn't it? And that's how it always feels up against Soniqs. You have to be diligent when you're playing against this team.
You have to be diligent, make sure they don't set the pace for you.
And they're trying to do it again here.
Yeah, I mean,
the switch up.
I'm literally, I'm getting probably more distracted than the players. I'm like, who's walking outside? Oh, it's just Geo on Clash inside of the sewer. Got it, cool. Got a Ninja Turtle on the defense. Very excellent. But Geo, he's just doing his best right now. And his best is very simple. Sit behind the shield.
It's not much, but it's honest work.
It is, yes. It's not a lot, but hey, we know he can do it. Merc, once again, making very quick entry into the middle of the map, taking that bit of control. There's not nearly as much presence on this middle floor from Soniqs as it was in round number 1, and it's good for Wildcard to recognize that and speed up their take accordingly. Before, it took them a long time to acquire the very same control they've just made. So good adaptation to recognize the lack of a roam.
Oh, the timing!
That's unlucky.
Oh, no, Gunner. That's those moments that it's like, you look back on him, you're like, what could I have done differently there? Oh, wait.
Nothing.
Really nothing. There's really nothing I could have done. Wildcard are going to get a gracious first pick onto probably one of the most important characters in that entire lineup, Warden. I mean, we've been talking time and time again, not only on the desks, but also on Twitter and just the general community have been talking about how insane Warden has been recently. And to not have him in this execution moment might be the make or break for them. A lot of stuns, some nades pouring in here. Geo standing at the back. Does he know? Does he know? He knows. He's got to know. Okay. Yeah, he definitely knows. I wonder if Merc knows. I don't know.
For a second, I wasn't sure, but Merc's just chilling there. He tries to take the fight. I mean, this is just an active drone, essentially, for the defense. That Merc might have destroyed that bulletproof, but as long as Geo's just sitting in this corner, he can tell you if anybody tries to walk in that breach. And Merc being by himself...
random swing right there with everybody right here as well.
I know. He unfortunately loses that one. Ooh, Spirits loses his gambit down marble stairs too. Grixer with a very nice two-piece. And Wildcard, they might have adapted quickly, but they're looking for a very late landing in round 4. Surf will now take Spirits' position on marble stairs, though it's Packer who drops Vault by himself to follow up with a kill. He's created some new space inside of the site. Geo fired off by his teammate's own Goyos. We'll have to take out the gun as we move to a 2v2. He's the only one left now. The shield just saves his life. Packer will have to switch to the secondary, but is it off or not? The seconds matter so much as Geo backs up and slows him down in a race against time. Packer finishes second, and that puts him in last in round 4.
Oh man, the barn burner clash. We weren't expecting Raphael to put up that big of a fight. That's insane. Wildcard just millimeters, just half a second more, Lynx. That's all they needed. But fantastic shield positioning there from Geo, I'll tell you. I mean, yeah, that entire round really up to him, and just kind of a goober fest overall. I mean, especially with what we saw in server. I mean, Merc's he's just crouching, hanging out a little bit. He's like, I'm just gonna swing right into server and see what happens.
I love that Merc's the kind of guy. He's like, this clash is watching me. I know he's watching me. I know he's giving my position directly to his team. I'm still gonna peek into server. Like, what a lad, what a guy.
he thinks so far ahead on the chessboard that he's like, I know that they're feeding the information to them, so therefore if I swing and pre-fire, that guy should be there. He's like, maybe I kill him. It's like, all right, I mean, fair, what if you do?
Well, he didn't, unfortunately, but
yeah.
I still appreciate the gumption. I do have to give it that. And again, Geo is a odd clash play. I mean, I call it odd, not in that it was questionable, just odd in that you see him inside, this dirt tunnel, constantly revealing himself. You're like, what does this guy have planned? Is he just going to sit in server the whole time? And the answer was yes. He was the only guy in server, no support aside from the shield in front of him. And he's like, yeah, I'm just going to hang out. I'm roasting marshmallows inside a server, just setting up a campfire. Come on down. We can try and hang out. But either way, very entertaining round 4 to say the least, as the Soniqs went on time. But unfortunately for the Soniqs, for the remainder 2 attacking rounds, or defensive rounds, excuse me, but wildcard attacks they have to deal with are on sites that they have lost so far. They haven't played CEO, but Open and Tellers both went the way of wildcard, albeit by very thin margins. So it's not all doom and gloom for Soniqs' defensive half, but the next 2 sides are not nearly as favored as it seemed Lockers was.
Protect your bombs from being defused
most
by
definitely
attackers.
not. By their skin of their teeth downstairs as well, so it really makes you think how these next 2 rounds could go. And that's pretty crazy to even consider, since we started this game off, we're like, wildcard is a completely unknown quantity, and we have no idea what this chemical could potentially do to your or your family. So it's like, it's like, what do we even make of this situation right now? Honestly, I think that there's a little rust to get knocked off. Let's be real here. A lot of people have not been playing game day Siege in quite some time. So
especially Soniqs.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's been a little bit. I think their last official was Copenhagen Major, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I mean, they tried to play the Gamers Without Borders quals. They did not end up making it very far. And if you look at the opposite side, not as a team, but on Wildcard, Spirits just played an Element 1 final. Surf, if I recall correctly, might have also been there. I can't recall exactly, though. I think there was something weird there. But Merc just played an Element 1. Packer Adam also just played an Element 1. So not as a team, but individually, a lot of these players have a lot of game day reps in very recent history where, as you said, the Soniqs don't have that same experience because of how early they went out in Gamers Without Border quals.
It's just a little bit different. That's all we're trying to point out. It's not that they haven't been practicing or things like that. They are definitely putting in their time and their work, especially with the the overseeing eyes that they have for the staffing behind the Soniqs. But the game day is just a little bit different. That's all we're getting at. And for the Soniqs right now, could be a little bit of a trial right here up against Wildcard, one that they might not have been prepared for. They might have been thinking of this more as kind of an easy start to their stage.
And I mean, you got to give credit where credit's due to Wildcard as well. I mean, Spirit's having a good individual performance. And as I was about to say, Adam, man, has had a very excellent debut so far. Sure, he might be traded out, but he's at least taken down Gunner, a C4 for the Soniqs. But that does mean, with Merc making a beeline for Grixer on the opposite side of that wall. Surf now, too. I'm trying to, make a cogent point here. And Wildcard have just decided that the round has been going on too long at only a minute and 20 seconds in.
Citizen just stirred up the piranhas. Seems like Wildcard have actually potentially done the one thing that's the hardest thing to do in the history of Rainbow Six Siege. Link, do you know what that is?
What is that?
5 gunners under 1 banner.
Ooh.
It's very, very difficult to accomplish, especially when everyone feels as though they're that Ashe player, they're that man. It's very difficult to do, but as of right now, all of these players really getting at it when it comes to the mechanics. Just their fragging ability overall is not to be scoffed at. Nothing to shake a stick, just yet at least. Geo kind of stuck here in open area. But what do? I mean, so many angles open up towards you. A Rotero drone opening your wall. He's got to sprint off over towards Kansan's location that we saw his huge clutch back in the day. He's gonna actually work his way over towards kitchen here with 50 remaining. Oh no.
Well, that's a bummer. I was about to talk about how Citizen's position, in addition to Geo's, could provide some good cutoff for any attacker moving down marble stairs. But then Wildcard just flooded the site, and Citizen might have a banger shot lined up, but that's the only one he's getting in round 5, as Wildcard are continuing a very strong performance on their attacking side.
I mean, I don't really know what to say about Wildcard's offenses right now. I'm just so flabbergasted by this whole situation.
I know. Listen, I'll tell you, Adam, man, is he doing all of the work? No. But when you see a player who's put in a frontline position, just coming up from tier 2 to tier 1, sometimes they succeed, sometimes they don't. And even if they don't, we usually say, all right, they just need to get their feet under them. It'll be all good. But in his debut, Adam has had a very solid individual showing on the mechanics. And not only on the entry, but on the late round as well. He's closed out rounds. He's opened them up in the case of round 5. And alongside more known quantities like Spirits and especially Merc in this game, it's helped Wildcard shine in the first half.
Yeah, absolutely. I think another key factor to point out with this as well is, you know, since last year we're back onto online play for these guys as well, and it offers that home feel to that home vibe. Adam's sitting in his room, he's doing his thing right now, and from the time that he started playing Siege to now, he's more than likely been in the same place, right? So you do have that comfort of almost the home field advantage, you know what I mean? So at least you have that going for yourself. That doesn't mean that this match doesn't mean as much to him as, you know, what it means to all of us. And I'm sure him as well, with this being his opener here today. But I mean, he is playing so very well. Lights out game from him, at least on the offensive perspective so far. Excited to see how things are going to change up, though. We don't want to get too far ahead of the horse here.
Of course.
We want to see how Wildcard can get things done on this defense, too.
And for the final defense, Soniqs go back down to Tellers on that middle floor. We also, of course, we do need to be even-handed here to talk about individual performances. Rexon, of course, having a bit of a rough first half, 0-5 so far, but that is aided by some solid performances from Gunner, Grixer, and Citizen, who are still on that front line often in positions. Of course, Grixer on the site right now, but as we saw from Wildcard in their previous attack on the Tellers, when it got to that late round, I mean, Adam was assaulting Tellers, Merc was trying to get in there too. Grixer might very well find himself in a frontline position, even if he's sitting on the bomb site itself. So he's a key player to keep an eye on, and a key player that is performing very well for Soniqs. But Rexon on that top floor, as he's facing pressure, as flash grenades are flying on in, with no kills so far, they'll continue the trend. 0-6 for this half, giving Wildcard the advantage they so desired. And Adam again in the clutch, widening it further.
I'm just so very impressed with how Wildcard have been processing this map, and it's really just up to the shot calling. Their patience, they're clear, the angles that they're holding for each other throughout the map. I mean, everything is thought and very well placed. Oh, except for that frag grenade though, Merc. But we won't dwell on that one too long. Gunner's gonna be able to elongate his life because of that. Finds a different angle, and oh man, it's gonna be Merc to find the angle first, but he will go down to Grixer instead. Surf to follow though, and a little potential finding his way through for Soniqs, but as soon as I say that, it's gonna be all down to Grixer.
Try to rotate around to square. Maybe catch the attackers off guard. One player planning inside of Tellers. Ooh, and he gets the player directly covering him, but now Wildcard have intel on the Fenrir's positioning. Will converge onto this singular spot, but instead it's Packer, the man with the diffuser himself, to secure that final kill. 4-2 half for Soniqs. Even though when it wasn't a Locker's defense, Soniqs looked shaky, we need to look at these attacking rounds from Soniqs, because a 4-2 half on Bank, even if you're the 2 on that equation, if you just have some clinical attacks, which Soniqs have had in the past, we should still be in for at least a close game.
Yeah, Bank can be so back and forth. It's one of these maps where I really feel as though it's up to the teams that are on it. You know, we can talk about statistics and all that kind of stuff all we want, but it really feels like one of those teeter-totters where some days it'll be defensive sided, some days it'll be offensive sided. So it's really up to Soniqs here and what they can try and show us on offense, because defense definitely wasn't it. They were getting at least the starting numbers, right? They were able to get a couple openers and start off on the right foot. It was just really the fact that Wildcard were doing their due diligence. They were not shying away from the fight. They were going about playing Siege the way that they have been practicing. And it's looking really, really solid.
And that shows. I mean, if we want to look at the opening picks throughout that half, I mean, the one guy from Soniqs who was making a lot of big plays in that early round was Gunner, one of the most proficient entry players on this team, at least in terms of how many sheer engagements he's taken. But everything else, the other 4 rounds were Wildcard, and that doesn't correspond exactly to rounds won versus rounds lost, but Wildcard end up winning the entry engagements 4 in that first half, and now we need to see if they can repeat it on the second. Soniqs, as they move to their attacking side, they will have to deal with that downstairs defense, as nobody should be surprised by. And Geo finds himself on a shield operator once again, not the Clash this time, but the Monty, basically 1-to-1 equivalent on the attack if you take out the electricity.
The tried and true for Geo as well, a hallmark of his play, especially with the Soniqs. We saw it a decent bit when he was on TSM as well back in the day, but definitely something he's brought throughout his career to the table. We'll see what he can get done here. Rexon moving to the position that we would assume also would be in the basement. They come over inside of the garage area, trying to hold things down. Not able to get rid of the initial bulletproof here, but Rexon will more than likely be sticking around here for quite some time, just able to offer kind of a rub on this cross.
It's similar to what we saw Spirits do all the way back in that previous attack, just a lot more proactively and with a lot more support. He's got these Talon shields. He's now destroyed that VP as well, so they'll know that just given the Osa's presence, that she'll be in there for the remainder of this round, and they might not know his exact position, but they can assume the Osa's there. Now they got to worry about the server push, too. The Montaigne inside of Dirt. Of course, unsupported right now, but that's not important just yet. He can hold out for the time being, beam intel to the rest of his team. And let the other 3 players moving around that top floor get vertical control, open up hatches. Soniqs are running a little bit low on drones, 4 left. Maybe that aided to Surf catching Citizen off guard. Maybe it didn't. The Wildcard now win the entry engagements 5-2 over the course of this game.
Well, Soniqs have met Wildcard at the gates, but it's Wildcard to throw the first arrow here. Citizen will go down. The drone economy, as you were saying, not exactly looking too hot. They're already halfway through, but they're over halfway through the rounds. They don't have to worry about it really all that much at the end of the day. It's really just about these positions. Wow. Merc! There's no way! I don't know if they had the mark or what have you, but my God, man. What a pre-fire through that wall if it was. Able to take down one. Gunner will be able to find at least one, as they'll be able to get Adam out of server. But is it too little too late? Rexon's trying to step up and assist, but they know where the last 2 are. And this is more than likely going to be all for naught. Gio will actually get one. Merc will take down Gunner. It's all left up to the Monty. That'd be one of the most insane Monty moments we ever have if this is actually going to be a 1 versus 3. And it will quickly get swept under the rug. Wildcard looking like a force to be reckoned with up against Soniqs.
They win that initial locker site, exactly what you hope for starting out on Bank. And in the fashion they did so as well. I mean, once you got to that 3v4, it was, I'd say, an easy layup for Wildcard, especially looking at Rexon's position. I mean, what the hell is he going to do? There's 2 players watching that entry in from Garage. Kill both of them? I mean, he's good enough to do it, but that's not something you should expect of him on a play-by-play basis. And at that point, there's 2 left in server. It is what it is. But those first 2 kills with Surf able to pick up Citizen inside of Square, but more, floating through the sky, but more importantly, Merc wall banging that guy inside a loan office. I mean, sure, that second one, maybe it's luck, maybe it's intel, maybe the lobby cam was left up, Sam. We don't know exactly.
Exactly.
But Wildcard able to acquire those leads and not give them up so early on, it's helped them on both sides now against the Soniqs.
Carter, it's mind-boggling. It really is, because Soniqs usually, like throughout the history of Soniqs, their play identification is fantastic. They usually know what's going on around the map 9 times out of 10, and then they just start processing the middle floor without really taking into account all the angles that could be swung in on from archives, where the majority of the players that are roaming are. So it was just like, it seemed like they got caught off guard there, when the entire play was to get set up and try and clear down to the bottom floor, you know what I mean? So just kind of an awkward moment there for them. So I think that might have been what the timeout was about. They're just trying to get all their ducks in a row. And remember, guys, we have quite a bit of a stage. This is only their first best of 1, so we're not counting them out just yet. And also just remember, Wildcard is in fact playing very well.
Indeed they are. That's what I was going to say. That again, this might be a new team, but a lot of these players are very experienced, and hitting the ground running with a couple of very solid individual performances, achieving the scoreline is definitely not just because Soniqs might have some deficiencies in their play, but also because Wildcard are playing very well. It's also a good timeout from the Soniqs, as this round is critical for their chances at the remainder of this half. They won lockers both times in their defenses, and for Wildcard, the same thing might happen, but making sure you can at least make it a 4-2 half to mirror Wildcard's, that'll get Soniqs overtime if Wildcard win lockers a second time in the future. So picking up open area and then picking up the next bomb site that Wildcard go to is key for keeping Soniqs in this game.
Absolutely. The lineup that we're seeing here from them, especially with Gio in on these Rotero drones. Use some of those right now, actually. Just launch a little bit of this utility. Have some castle barricades and other things strewn about for open area. He's going to have one more roll through here, just to make up some angles. You always like to have this cross leading over towards the actual open area through kitchen. We're going to have a couple Wildcard bodies around here, but it's mostly going to be up to Spirits to try and feed back info to the whole lineup. It's going to be Surf that actually takes down Rexon, who ends up dropping down from the top hatch. A very forward play out of Soniqs, and it goes immediately punished.
Rexon, man, just having a very rough game so far. I mean, again, it's not entirely left by the wayside with Grixer and Gunner doing decently well, but again, having such a very powerful attacking player especially, not showing up today when Wildcard are also playing out of their minds. It's a rough combination for the Soniqs. Also make getting this key 8th round a lot more difficult. Citizen will back out of Square and rotate over to Stock to help Gunner as a result. There is somebody inside a Janitor. That fact will be evident to the Soniqs now. But Gunner taking a lot of damage, now finished off by a C4 from below. I mean, at this point, Sam, 7-2 is not out of the cards.
No, not at all. I think Soniqs, they're in the trenches right now, man. They're in the trenches right now, Lynx. This is not the way you want your stage to start. This is a mental boom if I've ever seen one. Because you got to go talk about this. That's the worst part. And you know what the other worst part is? They got to play another game today.
They do.
They really do, don't they? They really do.
I mean, at this point, Grixer just lurking around this top floor. I mean, everybody's gone. Nobody's home. Wildcard know they can fall back. They got 45 seconds left. They got a 3-man advantage. Soniqs have a 3-body problem at this point. I mean, what do you do? Geo just got a lurk inside a square. There is somebody playing to his hard left inside a cafe. He's got secondary utility. There's Grixer, but there are 3 different bullet sprays colliding into Geo's body right there. I mean, this is match point for Wildcard, unless I'm gonna keep it real. Unless the defense starts throwing, this is round 8.
Yeah, they're looking so solid right now, and I mean, really, we gotta raise one of these jerseys a little bit higher than the others in the rafters here. Merc is playing lights out seat right now, man. He is feeling his shot, and you can definitely tell in just his selection when it comes to a lot of these frags. I mean, yeah, we talked about that kind of like gooberish round in server where he just kind of swung in to see what would happen in CCTV. But past that, I mean, he has been taking all of these with some real gusto and showing off just what he's capable of. It wasn't the fact that, you know, he lost some skill, just he's back into a happier place. He's feeling good about himself, and it's really showing in his play.
It's also a special case where, I mean, Merc is obviously, you know, as you just highlighted, the player performing well above maybe expectations, or just at least well above the rest of his team with those 11 kills inside of round 8. But everyone is putting up good numbers, including Packer, who's playing hard support on attack and defense, normally plays, you know, at least inside of Element 1, plays those shotgun operators, plays that Hibana, that Thermite on the attack. He's still 5-3 too, and that might not be, you know, a show-stopping scoreline, but everyone on Wildcard is showing up to play, and there's not a bad performance up or down the line. As they move to the 3rd bomb site, as they move to Tellers, that's going to benefit them even more if they can start with that opening pick. Soniqs have shown so far in their attacks that fighting back is a very difficult task.
Are we Wildcard stands?
Dude, listen, I'm gonna keep it real. If they're playing like this, I absolutely will go back and change some of my thoughts on the stage and some of my predictions about these matchups. They are playing extremely well, not just against Sonic specifically, but putting up a very good performance in general. I might be a fan now.
I mean, they're really changing my whole perspective on what these fresher teams could do. Now, I'm really excited to see what Luminosity can do later. I mean, just blow my mind, please. I mean, Wildcard across the board, everything from the shot calling, the cadence, the team play, down to just the individualistics, right? The mechanics that we've been seeing across the board. It's amazing to see. I'm especially excited for Adam and Packer. You know, Packer just coming back, like you said, from his little stint with Parabellum. But Adam really showing up when he was needed most here today. I mean, it's Soniqs. This is not a slouch of a team. Even if they're not playing the greatest that day, it's still a team that you're going to have to fight tooth and nail to get around over. So the fact that he was able to come in here cool, calm, and collected and do what he's done so far, I mean, Wildcard have to count their lucky stars.
It's especially if they can close out this last round or close out any of the next 4 to close this out in regulation. Yeah. It's a big win, period, because Soniqs, good opening pick by Rexon to get his first. Oh, okay, hold up. I'm actually scrapping what I'm talking about. Did you see that? A slight hole through the floor, sitting up onto that terrace outside to find the player down below. That is ridiculous. But anyway, as I was saying, this is an important win for Wildcard to pick up early on, because Soniqs, who often like to keep their chances at qualifying for the major close, if Wildcard also find themselves in competition for that LCQ spot, this is a big win early on.
Absolutely. Oh, what a find! He gets Rexon on the timing again. He almost kills Surf, but it's going to be Gunner instead to do it. The Legion comes up behind. Soniqs have no read, no drone, no idea what's happening around the map at all. Citizen has one inside of open area. He's dead. He's gone.
Jover.
It's the game, baby. It's so Jover. It was Jover last week. Grixer in a 1 versus 3. I mean, I'm freeze frame here. Did you guys ever think that this was going to happen? This is Grixer in the future for the sitcom. Yeah, that's me.
I mean, there it is. I mean, Adam with a beautiful finisher. 7-2 victory for Wildcard. In their debut game, in the first game of the NAL, we have a staggering upset.
Look at that smile.
I mean, that's passion right
You're
there.
looking good, Packer. You're looking good, buddy. The dub looks good on you.
Wildcard's looking good. And we'll have the desk to break down that excellent victory after this break.
There's no better way to win, man. There is no better way to make a debut in the NAL when you get the upset victory. You have every doubter knocking at your door, and one of the best and most storied teams in the league is the first person that you knock off the chopping block. That is a crazy debut for Wildcard to get in their first game in North America. I'm Jacob, he's Jesse, he's Laxing, and we got Packer on the line to talk about exactly how Wildcard managed to pull this one off. Dude, congratulations on your debut. It's great to talk to you in this context and not in either Tier 2 or Breaking Point, so welcome to the league first off. How does it feel getting that dub after Super spent so long streaming your tryouts on his stream to then beat his team? How does it feel, man?
It feels great. I'm so excited for the opportunity to play Pro League. I've been grinding at T2 for about a year, and to beat Soniqs, a team that's been in Pro League for a very long time, all those storied players, and with my teammates, it was a great experience.
Packer, that was an extremely impressive win that you guys just pulled off over the Soniqs. It felt like throughout that game, whether it started off slow or started off fast, you guys were always adapting in the mid-round. You had really good late rounds as well. Can you talk to me a little bit of what the comm structure is like with your team? Who's talking during those really tense late round moments when things in many kind of new teams would be getting super chaotic?
So we just take gaps that we see on attack, and everyone can call. I can call Surf, Merc, and Spirits. Merc and Spirits usually handle more of the beginning round because they usually see more of the gaps in the beginning where we could take space and stuff. But end round, depending on like what we see as droners and what's going on, like everyone calls. Charles our mailbox, so he just holds down what we need him to hold down, and then everyone else is just getting active, trying to figure out that best way to win the round.
All right, Pack, I got a question for you, and obviously congrats on your first win today in Pro League.
Thank you.
So a big question for me, for you, and probably for the viewers want to know, playing with the three players that you're currently playing with the veterans, are there things for you becoming, the player that you are now, that those three that you notice early on that's going to help you improve your gameplay throughout the season?
Yeah, noticing them, how they like incorporate their team, how like the little gaps they see, they end up making it like a big gap for the rest of the team. Like that really helps me as like a CL player learn. The last 3 weeks that I've teamed with them, I've actually learned a ton. Merc has actually helped me like a lot. He's like had sit down conversations with me, telling me what I needed to work on, and that's helped me improve a lot. I mean, I've never had support from like teammates like this that are like such high experience. So I've enjoyed every moment of it.
That's awesome. I'm really glad to hear that.
Before we let you go, obviously you have it's a doubleheader. You still have one more game that you got to play later on in the day. I want to draw you back to when you did your Breaking Point interview. The two players you said you really wanted to beat, one of them was Gav, and the other one was Mr. B. So what are you going to do in this break before you go play Beast Coast later in the day?
I'm gonna go get some food and just relax for a little bit, and then I get back and I'll warm up for the game, and I'm gonna be stoked to beat Mr. B.
Well, congratulations on your first dub, dude. No better way to make a first impression, and we'll see you in a couple of hours, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
God, that's insane that they were able to pull that off. I checked out highlights from that game, and there were Wildcard just lit up the scoreboard the whole way, but there were so many instances where Sonic should have been there, and they simply weren't, Jesse.
They really weren't. And I mean, we saw some amazing rounds coming through from Wildcard. It felt like on those basement attacks, right? Rounds 1 and 4, the time kind of got the better of them. They couldn't find those picks in the mid-round and early round to really start off their attacks. But on any other bomb site, Wildcard were in control. Opening pick or not, they were in there finding their trades, getting into the mid-round. I thought Merc in particular was amazing this game. It felt like 2022 Invitational all over again. Merc had a fantastic comeback into the league, and I was really impressed with Wildcard.
Yeah, I mean, to touch up with how you were impressed, I was impressed just by you could visually see the communication and the adaptations they were making mid-round, or just the team play of executing and, getting rid of a pick or trading a pick. Like, I thought the communication overall for Wildcard was one of the best things to watch from this game.
On a scale of 1 to 10 specifically for you, how impressed are you that Wildcard managed to do this in their very first Pro League game?
They did better than us, so, I mean, I'm massively impressed, especially going against a team like Soniqs.
Well, I mean, it's like Soniqs, but was this team like Soniqs? I'll tell you, it didn't look like Rexon. That was a really struggling performance for a couple of these players. He had 0 kills throughout the first 8 rounds of this map, and he really was struggling to find any impact in the server. I thought Citizen as well, often getting picked off in the mid-rounds, kind of without a fair gunfight, right? Angles that he wasn't expecting. It was some struggling times for a few of the players on SQ. So I'm hoping as the stage continues on, we see some of these problems fixed, because this is not the Soniqs I know.
I just want to say one thing to touch up on. Well, to finish off with what you're saying is, like, I don't want to take anything away from Wildcard by any means. I think they played a great game of Siege here. They shut down Soniqs on a lot of angles, and a lot of those rounds could have went either way. Truthfully, they went neck and neck, but then ultimately Wildcard came out on top, and then they just closed out the game. So, like I said, I don't want to take anything away from Wildcard. I think they did play a fantastic game of Siege today.
I mean, if we're celebrating anybody, it's Merc, right?
Yeah, I mean, Mark for me was the MVP of this game. Again, his play in the mid round, being able to follow up his teammates. And there were a wide variety of people getting engaged in the opening picks when it came to Wildcard. You know, sometimes it was Adam getting aggressive and finding those picks. Sometimes it was Surf. Spirits, even though, you know, the coach might have called him a support player, was still getting active on a couple of rounds there. But for me, Merc was the guy following up his teammates, coming through, opening things up. How often was it a 3v3 or a 4v4, and then Merc just jumps in, finds that pick, not traded, not being able to go down right after, and giving his team that advantage in the mid round? I feel like Merc showed off his veteran status in this game, and it was a beauty to watch.
Well, I mean, what else do you expect coming from Merc? That's a former world champion right there. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's also seeing the play that we saw today. That's typical Merc. That's what we're used to seeing.
Yeah.
So not seeing that, that's when I would start questioning something. But seeing the performance that he put on, and not to take away from anyone else on the team, but we are talking about Merc here, it's no surprise that he popped off the way that he did and led his team to a victory.
Two former hammer lifters met in the ring, and only one of them could walk away with a W. So, Wildcard, they're going to be back in a little bit. So are Soniqs. Well, we're going to see them later on through the course of the evening. But for right now, before we jump to game 2, again, if you haven't seen Siege to Win, here's a reason for why you should go watch it.